What's become clear in the 8 years since the Brits voted for Brexit is that actually much of our political class on both the left and the right, Labour and the Conservatives, really haven't understood what that vote was all about. The British Conservative Party has fundamentally failed to seize the opportunity that Brexit presented our country with. Instead of lowering immigration, the Conservatives sent immigration to entirely new levels. Instead of controlling our national borders, they lost control of our national borders. Instead of sending power down to the people, they hoarded it for themselves. Instead of pushing back against new radical ideologies like wokism and radical progressivism, they allowed the mainstreaming of gender ideology in our schools, our universities, and our National Health Service, which only last week, as we saw with the landmark Cass review, has been exposing our children to ideas, beliefs, and medical treatments that have absolutely no basis in science. Ideology was consistently put ahead of evidence by the expert class. And instead of preserving who we are, the British Conservatives allowed the mainstreaming of critical race theory in our primary and secondary schools, 1 in 4 of which have been shown through Freedom of Information requests to be drawing explicitly on CRT. They're teaching our children that fundamentally they should be ashamed of who they are, that their British or English identity or Welsh identity or Scottish identity is fundamentally a source of shame and embarrassment. And the only thing you should be proud of is our definition as being a country that's open to diversity and multiculturalism. But to say that a country is open to diversity is like saying a country doesn't have an identity of its own. And the British Conservatives have not only been presiding over the mainstreaming of these ideas, but have been fundamentally failing to understand one of the key lessons of the Brexit referendum. Brexit was never the end destination. Brexit was never the end of the journey. Brexit was merely the end of the beginning. Brexit was the first stop in a journey on which the British people are trying to take back power for themselves, trying to reform the institutions, and trying to build a politics that is much more representative of their values and their voice. And the British Conservatives and the Labour Party and much of the political class have failed to see what the second chapter in this story is going to be all about. It's another political project that's being imposed on ordinary people from above. It's a political project that is completely transforming our country, which is already becoming unrecognizable. And it's a political project which, unless somebody stands up and does something about, is only going to accelerate in the years ahead. And that project comes down to 2 words: mass immigration. Now, Boris Johnson told us that we were going to lower migration, that we were going to have an Australian-based point system which would bring in the best of the best. We would be getting high skill, high wage, highly selective, high value migration that would put more into the economy than it would take out. Boris Johnson lied, and the British Conservative Party lied. What we got instead was low skill, low wage, low value, non-selective migration, which is now taking more out of the economy than it's putting in. All of the studies on non-EU migration into Europe show the same thing. From Denmark to the Netherlands to France, I write about them each week, that typically low-skill migration from outside of Europe is a net fiscal cost, not a net benefit to Western economies. We're just throwing bodies at the national economy to keep big business happy, to keep the big parties in Westminster happy, and to keep everybody from having to avoid the big challenges that Britain is facing. Our collapsing social care system for our elderly relatives, our national healthcare system, the NHS, our bankrupt universities. All we're doing, like a drug addict, is using cheap mass migration to try and plug the holes, to try and keep us from having to deal with the problems that are underpinning Britain's economy. The voice of ordinary people is glaringly absent. Nobody in the corridors of power is speaking for the vast majority of ordinary British people. So what started with Brexit, what started 8 years ago, I'm here to tell you, is only just the beginning of a much broader political revolution in our country.
If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to spread more awareness. Share your thoughts in the comments below and join the conversation. Your engagement helps us bring more content to light. Remember, stay informed, stay engaged.